Footy Interchange Exchange. This is where we answer your questions when you send them through. The People's Podcast, it's what we like, and getting to answer your questions where you get to set the agenda as well. We'll give preference to the people that flick them through on Patreon as well, so make sure you get involved with that because that's where you'll be able to find this question podcast going into the future, Schoey. We'll waste no time.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
So the People's...
We will waste time.
Yeah, that's fine. The People's Podcast.
Yes.
Is there a wrestler that's like the People's Champ or something?
Yeah, The Rock.
Oh, that's The Rock?
The Rock, yeah. It was the People's Champ.
Who's
The People's Elbow.
Who's your favourite wrestler? Like favourite?
All
big
time.
wrestling man.
Was The Rock.
Right.
Rock, Stone Cold,
Right.
Undertaker, trifecta. It's hard to split
You're
those
like a
three.
little bit old school sort of,
Yeah.
Yep. The OG sort of guys.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
great.
it. Not quite the OG, sort of the next generation.
I thought you'd correct me.
Well,
That's good.
depending on the day. It's hard to go past Stone Cold. I'd love to meet him, absolutely.
Get him on BackChat for you.
Make that happen for me, Schoey, please. He's got a beer out as well, the Broken Skull IPA.
Classic.
It's very good. Very good. You can find it at some bottle
Not
shops.
as good as a shelter.
Not as good as a shelter because it costs about triple the amount. It's so expensive.
Do you have to crack it on your skull to drink
No,
it?
it's too expensive to do that. I tried to do it once and then I was like, nah, I better save this. It's very good if anyone's tried it.
Nice.
Let me know. Let's get into the People's Podcast here, the Footy Interchange Exchange. You're going to laugh every time I say that now. Clacker kicks us off.
This is off our Patreon.
Off Patreon.
So our patrons, welcome.
Yes, and I like some questions that aren't just WA based either, which is great. Clacker asks, what do Port Adelaide need? They've got some young key forwards, an elite midfielder, and very handy intercept backman, or is a fresh voice leading them? Is that what they need, like Josh Carr?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question because we were watching that and calling that on the weekend, weren't we, Paps? And I was looking at the midfield, and Ollie Wine's Brownlow medalist.
Yep.
They got good leadership in, Rosie is the captain, but Travis Boak's still running around out there. It's not like they're so young that they don't have leadership. Aliir's been a good player for a decent amount of time in the AFL now, so he's sort of leading their back line.
Yeah.
I think they're ticking quite a few boxes. It feels like game plan, to be honest. And that is coach related, and that is why the questions are being asked around Ken Hinkley and Josh Carr, I think.
Yeah.
Because I don't think their list is so far from it that they
made
shouldn't be competing.
Prelim last year.
Oh, they've done it for the last 5 or 6 years. We're one of the more successful sides to not win a premiership in the last 5 or 6 years.
Not make a grand final has been the big question mark.
Good point.
Vicentini's a young ruck. He looks like he's got some promising signs, but I think that's one area that they could get a bit stronger and give a bit more service to that midfield and maybe find another option or two in the forward line that can help Georgiades.
Yeah. Key forward. And
Marshall being out's hurt them.
I think you can make do. You can go okay without a premium ruckman, but you need a very good key forward. And you're right, Todd Marshall probably is that, but he's spent a lot of time on the sidelines.
Certainly has. Thanks for your question, Clacker. Brendan asks, are the Bulldogs right there with Brisbane and Collingwood or not quite?
It feels like not quite, but I'm not too sure why. They've done almost everything that you could ask of them. They've won away from home. They've won against good sides. They took Geelong all the way at home last week.
Could have won that.
I don't know if they could do much more. They're a high-scoring side. Their defence looks pretty good. Their midfield's elite, one of the best in the comp. It just feels like maybe because they haven't won a flag in the last few years that they don't have the runs on the board in that regard. But they have every piece to the puzzle, including a good coach, to win it.
They've missed Sam Darcy in recent weeks. Like, he'll make a massive difference when they can get him back. And most of their season, it's felt like they've just been trying to get through whilst they've battled through these injuries. So
you forget about Sam Darcy not being there.
Yeah, it's massive out for them.
That's a good point.
So if they can get him back and fit in the coming weeks and continue to play well and get wins, then they'll be right up there.
How far off is he?
I don't know exactly. I think he's
10 weeks or is it 5
it's
weeks?
less than that, I think, yeah.
Isn't that remarkable?
Yeah. Initially, they thought he was going to be out for a really long time, and then I think they've wound it back a little bit. So
wow. He must be made of rubber bands.
Yeah, if they can get him back, that'll be massive. Matthew Miller asks around the Alex Pearce, Darcy Byrne-Jones collision. What happens if Byrne-Jones is running back with the flight and his shoulder collides with Moose's head, Alex Pearce, and causes him a concussion?
Wow. That's actually a very good question.
Yeah.
You'd think no case to answer.
Correct, which is why it's so ridiculous.
It's only ridiculous because that would mean it's an action-based solution there. And because we would all agree that shouldn't be a suspension if Darcy Byrne-Jones knocked Alex Pearce out, wouldn't we? That shouldn't be suspendable, should it?
Not if Burne-Jones gets to the footy first. If he didn't, then I don't know. Maybe he does get done.
Maybe we should get like a tribunal lawyer in here to explain what's going on. Maybe that'd be interesting.
Maybe a Joe Rogan-esque.
We could get Laura Kane on.
4-hour podcast.
Laura Kane come on a podcast
and
with me.
explain
I doubt it.
Thank you, Matthew. There's so many different parts to that. Even like with that, if Alex Pearce puts his arm out, which you're not going to do in that situation, and attempts to spoil or thinks about spoiling. We saw Rory Lobb punch Mason Cox in the face this year and got nothing. So if you just look like you're attempting to spoil, then you don't get a suspension, which is the strange thing. Harry Huntley says, that's a dangerous name to say. Harry, welcome to you. That's why we're calling Eagles. I always say Jaden Hunt every time. Don't say dual names for most players, but Jaden Hunt,
so
I do.
You can't say just Hunt by itself, just in case.
Just in case I accidentally say the wrong thing.
Like punt.
Yes, that's...
or bunt.
Jaden Hunt kicks Hunt.
A punt.
Yes, that's why I try to be very deliberate when I say that. Watch me stuff it up this week. Anyway, Harry, thank you for your message in. Says, new word on the street is Oscar Allen could be going to Brisbane. Thoughts on this and what would they get in return? This one's been floated around for a little while, but what comes back the other way?
First round priority pick, and it'd be pick 2. They wouldn't trade him with it. Like, it's just a free agent acquisition and they get compensation. So
which happens to come after their pick.
Yeah. So West Coast get pick 1 and they get pick 2 for Oscar Allen. Is that fair right now? It's probably a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Especially if they've made the decision to trade him, which they would have made their mind up already on that. Whether Oscar has or not, that's another question. It also brings into question if they should be playing him at all, if they have made the decision to trade him. Because what if he permanently injures himself and they can't trade him?
Yeah.
Then that would be a butcher job. Or if they're going to keep him, maybe they should just keep playing him. I don't know. It's hard to tell when no one tells us what's going on, Paps. That gives me frustration.
I still think that a 26-year-old who's your captain is a good fit to help lead your side through the issues that you've got. But if they're thinking pick 2 is a better option, Harry, it all comes down to the contract that Brisbane offer to Oscar Allen, his age and the length of the contract as well. They put all those things into their matrix and that spits out what the compensation band is going to be, but you'd expect it would be at the top tier. Brendan says, thoughts on publishing contract length and costs in other leagues that actually protects players from malpractice and also from public misinformation in light of recent contract extensions by WA players?
I think 5 years ago it was just a complete not doing it. We've got no idea. It feels like more people know now, whether or not they do or they're just making it up in the first place. It feels like there's more and more contract information than there ever has been.
Is it better to have that speculation or correct answers?
Look, I guess the point I'm making is I think we're getting closer to just like letting everyone know. And, you know, is that private information? Is that something that people don't need to know? That's probably a different discussion, to be honest. I just don't think it's going to matter that much if it is published. The pressure's already there for guys that are on big contracts. We know if a player signs a 7-year deal, they're on big money.
Yep.
They're not signing a 7-year deal for $300,000 a year. Right? It's somewhere from 700 to $1 million, and you know that. So the pressure's already there. If it's published, I guess there's a little bit more transparency in what they're doing. I don't feel that strongly about it either way, to be honest. I don't know how much it changes what we already do because we already speculated on anyway.
What if there was like a tier system? Like he's a tier 1 player. He's between 800 and $1 million.
Yep. You've got your franchisee, you've got tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Maybe.
Does that help?
But we already see that. You already know.
Yeah.
There's no one floating around that either way. Like there's no one floating around on $1 million a year that we don't know about. And there's no one floating around on $150K a year that we think's on $1 million. That doesn't exist. We pretty much know what everyone's on.
Sorry, I should have read Zen's question, which it pretty much says exactly that, Zen. So apologies. It says, I'm seconding Brennan. Want to get your thoughts about the transparency of contracts and even if they just make it mandatory for clubs to disclose a range for the contract, say within 50K and not the exact number, I think it could be really valuable.
Did you write that in?
Honestly,
Are you Zen?
No, I'm not Zen. Well done, Zen. Great minds thinking the same way. I guess it's around, say, a player, and people can probably think who I'm talking about, who has been on a big contract and then they re-sign and extend for a couple of years, whether they drop down another tier and whether the club and the fans feel like they're getting value for that.
Yeah, I guess the person you're talking about, what if they moved up a tier? Then, then it brings pressure on them. But I think
Well, I think it brings pressure on the club.
Oh, exactly right. Because the players aren't writing their own checks. So I'd be for it, but I'd be for a lot more transparency across everything at club level, to be really honest.
Great questions coming through there via the Patreon. A few more coming through from socials. Ed says, which club would want the Freo ruckman if Jackson is the best without a backup? I think Port Adelaide could use him to effect.
Which club would want the Freo ruckman?
So Sean Darcy, if Sean Darcy was to move on, if they were going to keep Luke Jackson as the number one.
Right, so we just spoke about Port Adelaide needing a ruckman. West Coast Eagles probably need a ruckman.
Seen a Photoshop of that this week.
Yes.
Sean Darcy in an Eagles kit.
Essendon need a ruckman.
Yes.
Todd Goldstein's getting sick of running his own ruck meetings with himself. Hey, how you going, player? This is Todd speaking to Todd. Yeah, really good. How do you think I'm going? Yeah, really good. I reckon you're playing this week. They need a ruckman.
Should go onto the list manager to get an upgrade on the contract.
I think our rucks need to be paid more. There's a few, and I don't think anyone would be worse off with Sean Darcy in their side, including Freo. I don't think they're worse off with a fit Sean Darcy.
Even if there was a mid-season trade period, I don't see that deal getting done.
No.
And any team that's in the window, I don't see them doing too much in terms of trading out good players because you don't know what's going to happen with injury in the back half of the season. If Luke Jackson gets injured, then you've got Sean Darcy there ready to go.
Carlton may need a ruckman if they trade TDK.
Yeah. That would be the other one as well. Ian says, does AFL House have too many lawyers and bean counters?
Yes.
Do they all wear noise-cancelling headphones to silence and avoid the comments from club supporters about the way they are damaging the game?
Yes. And yes and yes. I think potentially what's missing, to me, it seems like a Brad Scott type. Now, Brad Scott's been as a player. He's been as a coach. At the time he was working with the AFL, he then had that business background as well. It feels like there's a missing void between clubs talking to the AFL and players and therefore sort of via fans to the AFL. It just feels like there's admin and this is what the textbook says and we're just going to do this, which is okay, but it's lacking transparency for one. In some of the decisions they're making. They're missing the mark in others because they doesn't feel like there's a link between people, which is so important in our game. And I think the best way to do that is to get someone in that has had experience across all, as a player, as a coach, maybe as an administrator. There'd be people like that around that you could get into a position at the AFL. But again, what do I know?
I do think they do listen to a lot of the criticism and whether they change things or not, that's up for them to decide. But I think they do hear it and they do have the best interests of the game at heart. It's trying to change some things. It doesn't happen straight away either. Yes. But feels like there's a bit of a disconnect right now. Chris says, who comes in for Alex Pearce and Cooper Simpson if Pearce is not there?
I saw Josh Draper down at the bottom of Optus Stadium on Saturday.
Yep.
He'd be straight replacement for Pearce, so I think that's fine. Simpson been playing back. Look, Bailey Banfield played there.
He did a good job.
Didn't hate him there. I think you could easily play James Aish there if you needed to. He's been in the waffle. Or maybe swap someone. Wagner's been doing a tagging role. I like that though. I wouldn't put him back. Mm-hmm. He came out of the back line to do that. I'd keep him doing what he's doing. I think it's been good for them.
Art Vanderlei says, do you know what that reference is from?
Tell me.
Seinfeld? Vanderlei Industries?
No.
Hello to all the Seinfeld fans out there.
I'll go with you.
Art Vanderlei says, hi, Paps. We're halfway into the season. What's your analysis of the Eagles' pick 3 for Baker, Owies and the Bo Allen trade if the idea was to lift our floor and make us more attractive to keep Harley Reid? Clearly, it hasn't worked on current results.
Can you find out or know who pick 3 was?
Jagger Smith, who has been out all year. Yep.
So, I mean, no.
You can't say that would have happened if you came here or whatever.
But if you look at it on face value, which I think this is asking us to look at it, well, they would have had a knee injury draft day that they got nothing out of. And clearly Baker, Owies and Bo Allen have given more than that. So I guess early analysis is it's been good. If the idea was to lift our floor and make us more attractive to keep Reid, clearly it hasn't worked on current results. Well, I could argue that imagine if those 3 weren't there. Imagine if Liam Baker, Matt Owies and Bo Allen weren't playing. You'd be 3 less players. I don't know who's there instead of them, but it's not He's not someone better.
Yeah, I think Owies hasn't quite shown the form that he had at the Blues,
I agree.
but again, a harder forward line to play in at the Eagles compared to the Blues over the last couple of seasons. Baker's given everything they thought they would get out of him, I think, and probably a little bit more.
Yep.
And Bo Allen's played, 1 game, 2 games?
I like him.
And has a lot of upside. So it's a bit too early to make the call on that one, I think.
Yeah, but overall pretty good.
2 ones to finish. JBG says, is the Liam Baker hit to the back of the head to a defenceless opponent something that we should be outlawing more than a football accident?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Should that have been a week?
It's poor action. Absolutely, it should have been. I would have honestly less issue if they gave that 3 weeks than Alex Pearce.
3 for that.
I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying if they happen to give it 3, and I had to look at Alex Pearce 3, if they were equal side by side, Liam Baker's is a worse incident than Alex Pearce's. So I'm asking for action. So I would rather Liam Baker's stuff out of the game than Alex Pearce. I'm not advocating for either, but that's all I think.
I agree with you. I think, a week, I don't think anyone would really have blinked at if that was given. And Jogon says, boys, you didn't address the fact that the Prince gets umpired differently to every other player. We spoke about this week. It says, it's beyond a joke. The Prince equals Harley Reid.
Yeah.
Does he get umpired differently?
Well, he certainly gives a lot of free kicks away.
Got caught a few times on the weekend.
I always used to find that with Buddy Franklin. They're such powerful, aggressive players that when they do things, it looks worse than it is. Like whether or not it's them tackling or it's them getting tackled, or everything happens at a higher rate. So I don't know if he does get umpired differently. He definitely gets judged differently, even to other number 1 picks. Sam Lawler, right, who, I think about Harley, I think he's going fine. I don't think the criticism should be there, and I don't think there should be any criticism for Sam Lawler. But he had 2 touches on the weekend, then did his hammy. If that happened to Harley Reid, he would be plastered across Western Australian news. Not good enough, not fit enough. Sam Lawler just sat in the goal square. So he's not anywhere really as a player. He's favourite for a bloody rising star or somewhere thereabouts. I don't think number 1 draft pick should be right to passage for criticism. Yes, there's a bit more pressure, but they're still just young players learning how to play the game, and that includes being umpired and decisions there as well. I think Harley's going all right.
Great stuff, Schoey. That has been the Footy Interchange Exchange, where you can send through all your questions, sign up for Patreon, and you get first dibs at sending those through as well, and you get access to this question podcast each and every week. The People's Podcast, we're calling it, Schoey. Thank you very much.
The People's Patreon Podcast. Sign up to Patreon. You can do that at backchatpodcast.com.au/contribute, and you can find the links there. $10 a month. You can get this in your inbox every week.
Plus plenty of other things as well.
Oh, lots more. We're talking 10% off all of our sponsors, off any merch, any events we do, free tickets. We put in free ticket away giveaway. There's West Coast Geelong. I got tickets going in there this week into Patreon. So if you're watching this and you're not a patron and you want tickets to West Coast Geelong, $10. That'll all it cost you.
A question without notice. Can we get a prize for question of the week for this podcast?
How about tickets to West Coast versus Geelong? Yeah, we can get. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll sort of prize out.
We'll sort something out.
Done.
So keep the questions coming through. We will come up with a prize for this question part, the People's Podcast, so we can give back to you as well. Thanks very much for your company. We'll check out the Footy Interchange next week.